Yeah. You gotta work. You gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine. Never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work.
Let the conversation begin. This is Let's Talk with your host, Carl Lee.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Lee with Let's Talk. And hope everyone had a great holiday and having a good New Year's. And I know that my co-host Hollis Lewis is here with me.
Yes, sir. I'm back.
And he's a little bothered because he's missing his Alabama game. And I'm sure there's a lot of folks out there watching. But we came back today and kind of just as a recap of some of the things that maybe we'll get into some of the things that we've talked about. But there's been a bunch of conversation around the GOAT.
Yeah.
And who is the GOAT, and specifically around the Randy Moss, Jerry Rice, that kind of story. So, and I've seen a whole lot of lists that, they have Randy somewhere like 3 or 4 or something like that. And some lists don't have Sterling Sharp in there. And everybody's kind of like putting Rice, and I'm not saying not justifiably putting Rice there as one of the top.
Yeah.
So before I even give my comments, I'm curious to see who do you put as the GOAT, as wide receiver that you can remember in the league? And maybe even why you think that.
Okay. Well, I grew up a 49ers fan, so obviously, Jerry Rice would be on the top of my list. But it's hard not to have Moss on the top of the list for this reason, because I think what he was able to do is unteachable. It was almost unguardable. Because, I can remember games when he played for Minnesota, as I'm sure you do. He would have 3 catches, 3 touchdowns, 175 yards. And that wouldn't even be a strange coincidence. And then he does it again when he plays for the Patriots. He had that little stint where, everybody struggles when they go to the Raiders, it seems like, right? But his career and just the things he were able to do, his hands, his route running ability. And people always talk about, well, he was a one-trick pony. He only had the long ball. Well, that was his specialty. That's what he did. And it was unguardable. And you couldn't do anything about it.
Well, and that's the excellent point, because again, fortunately or unfortunately, I had an opportunity to actually cover Rice. And we played them for like 3 or 4 years, in a row. Yeah. And we played him in an NFC game, and we shut him down less than 100 yards, blah, 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 blah. The following year, he killed us. Yeah. Okay? So start thinking about Rice. You got to look at the 49ers as a whole. You got to look at a Joe Montana as a quarterback. You got to look at Taylor on the other side of it. And then you got Roger Craig as a running back.
Tom Rathman.
Yes. So so this team is full of players, but I'm going to call the DB card. Okay. I'm going to call it from how I'm going to process it.
Yeah.
The thing about Rice, bro, I'm as tall as he is. I'm faster than he is. So for me to have to cover him, you're going to have to keep going to him. And he's going to catch him. He's going to catch him. I'll knock one down. He'll catch 2. I'll knock one down. But he's not making me worry about, I can't cover him.
You can't. Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay, see, that's a good point. He's worried that you know he's going to get the ball. You know he's going to get the ball. But it's not a situation in which you're doubting questioning your own ability.
I feel like, and I'll go out on the edge for a whole host of people who may question this. I'm not even 100% sure that he wasn't recognizing that I was covering him.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
That's fair.
Now,
you're supposed to think like that.
Yeah, so I'm sure he knew, and not saying oh my gosh, he's in a panic, but he knew that I would be covering him, and he knew that we were going to have a battle.
Yeah, for sure.
The problem with Rice, with Moss,
Yeah, bro.
Bruh, he's 6'4",
do?
6'5". He's faster than I am. Vertical
jump higher
than me. He already got me 3-4 inches, 5 inches.
And superb hands.
And can get it with a one hand.
Superb. And I think that's the part that I don't like people when they like analyze Moss, right? Superb hands. These ain't average hands. These ain't good hands. Like T.O. to me had average hands. Rice had great hands.
T.O. should not. If you say Randy Moss and T.O., that ain't even right.
I'm just saying.
I know,
doing
but
the comparison.
I'm just because I've seen his name creeping up in there too. And no.
But Moss had superb hands. And the thing about it is, and I'll argue this point for. I don't have to argue for Jerry Rice, but I'm just saying. I think most great receivers had a great quarterback at some point in their career. They had a good to great quarterback in their carear. Not all of them. I mean, you look at, I'm trying to think of somebody else. But I think most of them had pretty good quarterbacks.
I make the case that Moss didn't have a standout Hall of Fame quarterback.
Well, no, Tom Brady.
No, but I'm just saying with the Vikings.
Not a standout Hall of Fame, but he had some good ones.
Some really good ones.
He had Brad Johnson was pretty good. Dante Culpepper was pretty good.
I played with Brad, so I know how good
Randall
he was.
Cunningham was pretty good on the back end.
Played against him.
So he had some good quarterbacks.
I agree.
When we're talking about when he was with the Vikings.
Yes. And like, because what you saw when he went to New England,
man,
imagine that.
His whole career.
Your whole career.
Bruh. It's crazy to me, man.
I mean, imagine Brady and him.
And I think,
can you even remember who Brady had prior to that?
I mean, he had a bunch of dudes.
Yeah,
he had some good dudes.
Some good ones, but none that you can necessarily call.
Yeah. But I think the thing with Moss, too, is I think when you look at the pantheon of receivers, I think he just might be the greatest athlete, too. Right? I think when you look at just athletically, I just don't know if you could do anything with him across just not football, across different positions. He could kind of do what he wanted to do.
And you're stealing all my thunder because that was exactly the point that I was going to make. Because when you start talking about athleticism, right? You got to start. You're looking at when you start looking at Rice. Okay, he might have played basketball. Okay, he might have ran track. I doubt the track thing. I'm saying if he ran track, he wasn't blowing it up.
Yeah.
If he played basketball, maybe. Mm-hmm. But we're talking about Moss, bro, doing it all, and not just at a simple level. And I think the problem is when Moss says he is the GOAT. Mm-hmm. Everybody gets a little uncomfortable because they want to be able to pick the GOAT. Yeah. But I'm just telling you, if you ask me, I got Moss, and I don't care if you say he's going to run one route.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
I don't care about that because
and as a
I got to cover
quarterback,
that.
That's the route I want.
That's you want.
That's hey, baby,
Thank
throw
you.
it up.
You're the quarterback.
Go get it.
You don't want to wear a curl out and all that.
Go get it.
Go get it. Put your Jets on and go get it. Okay? You can't do that with Rice every single down.
I mean, you would know.
You can't do that with him. He's not that guy.
And but let me ask you this though. Outside of, we talk about Rice, Irvin, T.O., these different receivers. All of them have great attributes to make them great receivers. Is there anybody else that fits into Moss' category where he is just that guy where you could just you could throw it up? He can make you look good in a bunch of circumstances, even if you're not as accurate as you should be.
Willie Gault was the guy that you could say, okay, had that speed.
Yeah.
But he could drop it.
Yeah, he didn't have great hands.
He didn't have great hands. And he wasn't truly a receiver.
Okay.
He just was not a true receiver.
He's a track guy, right?
Yeah, he was more of a track guy.
Okay.
And so that got him. So, and again, I've had to cover him several times. And you worry about his speed, but he can beat you and drop the ball.
Is there anybody else?
To my knowledge, I never had anybody like that.
Like Moss?
Like Moss.
Okay.
Nobody. Sterling was fast, great hands, run deep balls, and
he could do
all
a little
the routes.
bit of all.
He could do it all.
Yeah.
Strong, physical.
Yeah, T.O. kind of the same way.
Yes. But see, I like Irving, I got Irving in a when he was younger. When he came in, he was still like a rookie or a couple years and something. So he hadn't none of those guys had become that guy yet.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to, even when they were that guy, was there anybody like
I
Mark?
just don't
That's
think
what I'm trying
so.
to think, because when I think of, not to say they were all the same, but when I think of guys like T.O., Michael Irvin, Sterling Sharp, Jerry Rice, when you think of even like the Marvin Harrisons and guys in the modern era, they were all, not to say they were the same, but they had a similar skill attribute. Well, I just think Moss is kind of just on an island to himself, figuratively and literally speaking.
Because he could do everything.
Yeah, and he had that one thing that you just couldn't
And,
do nothing with.
a lot of people, like Rice, could run every route.
Facts.
And catch.
And he had game speed, too.
He had game speed.
Game speed.
And he would go get the ball.
Yeah.
Okay? So
Superb hands.
Superb hands.
Yeah.
Okay? He had all of those things. But he didn't have the speed, didn't have the height. So people felt like he was, you just knew he was going to get it, and you knew the ball was going to be there in the right spot.
Yeah, but his route running ability was superb. I mean,
but when people started going to bump and run, they started moving him.
Yeah.
And they did the same thing with Sterling, not because Sterling couldn't get off the press and the physicality of it, because he grabbed me one time, just threw me, and went and caught a deep ball. But instead of losing the timing of the route, they just would put the guy in motion so you couldn't get set and get your hands on him. Yeah. They did the very same thing with Rice, because if you just have him standing there on the line, trying to get off the line and run his route, the timing's off.
Yeah.
Because he's got to spend time with me shaking and baking and
the West
knocking
Coast
my hands.
offense,
yes, it's all time.
It's all time.
Yeah. And seeing a lot of people don't get that.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, and I'm really curious about like what people will say after we're off the show and they see it, maybe even if it's a recording, that they see it and then hit us up on Let's Talk with Carl Lee on the Facebook and try to explain to us like why you think somebody else. Because at the end of the day, I don't know if it really matters who's second.
It's a toss up though. I mean, I can't.
I don't say that. I can't say
that.
that.
I say. I mean, it's Moss and Rice.
It's not even
kind
to
of
me,
what you want to.
To me, every day, if you said, okay, you're having a tough day, who do you want? Rice
No, that's
or
what
Moss?
I'm saying.
Rice.
I mean, right? Huh?
Rice.
You said you want Rice?
Yes. Best day, I want Rice. And when I say that, I'm
Oh,
saying
you're saying it from a DP perspective?
yes. Yeah.
Okay,
I don't best day, worst
you
day.
never
I don't ever
wanna
want
see
Moss.
you
No.
know-
I don't want him.
You don't want to see him ever.
No. Now, and I'll say it on the other side of it too. I'd love to have had a chance to play against somebody like that, just to see what it was like. Because I'm going to be on the line. I'm going to try to get my hands on him. I'm going to try to, be physical with him the whole day, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure people done that, but I don't know. I just don't know if it bothered him enough.
I just don't know if you had somebody, to me, when I look at Moss, and I think it comes down to this, I don't know if you've ever seen an athlete with Olympic level speed and that good of hands. You know what I'm saying? I don't think we've ever seen that combination. And I think, to me, that's just what makes it so great, that you can be that fast, you can be that quick, you can have that great of a route running ability, and you have superb hands. Because usually, as you know, if you have those, and we all coached and we played against those guys are super fast, but they just don't have great hands.
You don't get the combination.
You never get that combination.
It's just never been.
Yeah.
Usually you get that tall guy.
You get the tall guy,
and
he's not fast.
He's not fast.
Yeah. He's not quick.
Harold Carmichael was one of those kind of guys. He was a tall guy, about 6'3",
Herman
6'4".
Moore.
Yeah, Herman Moore.
Albert Harper.
So they were tall, and so you had the disadvantage of height, but you had speed.
Yeah, because I think maybe somebody close, but he's a different sort of built athlete. You have Mick Had for the Seahawks now. He's a big guy. He's fast. He's strong. He has pretty good hands too. But again, I'm not sure he's Moss level speed.
Right.
So,
well, who is?
I don't know. Nobody. But I think also too we got to mention T.O. because to me, I mean, when you talk about a physical specimen, outside of everything as far as off the field and everything like that, when you talk about a physical specimen playing the wide receiver position, that's rare too.
And okay, so what I'm going to swing in for a reason because of that.
Yeah.
So one of the guys that I particularly think is the GOAT as a DB, as a corner, is Darrell Green.
Yeah, you gotta have Darrell Green. There.
Okay,
yeah.
Now
you gotta have Darrell Green.
I got a chance.
We forget about Darrell Green.
Yes, and I don't know how.
Yeah.
And I know being in the Pro Bowl with him, but I'm looking at him and I'm like, okay.
That's when y'all used to have them competitions.
Yes,
and see that brother run, bro. That's impressive.
Because like he was not he's not just a cover guy.
Yeah,
he was fast too,
super fast.
And
let's keep it in context.
Yes,
we're not talking about fast. You're talking about 4.2, 4.1 type of deep.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, and so when I think about Darrell Green and I say Darrell Green and Randy, okay, I'm saying Darrell's going to have the ability to keep up with them, at least be close.
Yeah, I think he can keep up.
He can be close, but yeah,
what happens when that thing is up there?
I'm taller than Darrell. Okay,
yeah, I mean he probably could jump too, but
Randy's 6'4", 6'5", and his vertical.
Yeah,
but he's out of the stadium.
But when I say this, I would say, well, okay, we moving on the corner. You got Deion. Deion to me, and I'll say this, and I say this to anybody. Like when ESPN has these like top 100 greatest athletes and the greatest athlete, Deion's the greatest athlete of all time, in my opinion. There's nobody. Now this is my point. He's a 3-tool football player. That means he's playing offense, defense, and special teams, and he's almost elite at every single position of that. At the same time, he's playing baseball. He got the name Primetime from being an all-state basketball player in Florida. He is the greatest athlete in a modern era, and the greatest athlete of all time.
And the key piece that what you're saying there is athlete.
Athlete.
Yes.
And I'm
that's
saying he's the greatest
football player.
But I'm saying he's the greatest one of the greatest defensive football players ever too. I mean, you have to pit him.
I don't have no problem with that.
Yeah.
But I think his overall athleticism in everything.
He could do it.
Supersedes one.
Supersedes. I get
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It supersedes just
because
football.
I think he could have been a Hall of Fame receiver.
And let me tell you, and I had this conversation earlier today. When's the last time? When is the last time you saw Deion get beat? Now, before you even think about it, I'm sure he's been beat a number of times.
I seen one play with Rice. I remember that.
Okay, yes, but when you think about him, you think about him making plays.
Yeah, you don't think about it.
There's no bad play in your memory. Somebody's got to show that bad play. He's so good and was so able to speak to his own greatness that you can't call him out on a play.
He was to me, he's literally, I mean, without the political and the civil rights commentary, he was the closest thing to Muhammad Ali in that bravado and bringing in sort of, at that time, hip hop and the sort of street culture into sports. I mean, I see how when we talk about these greatest, he's the greatest athlete of all time. The man played baseball and football simultaneously. And if you ever play, you played baseball before, right?
Yes.
And you know how difficult it is to be in that box, bro.
Bro, I ain't trying to be in that box.
I ain't trying to be in that box,
bro.
Look,
I'll hit anybody.
Yeah.
I don't want to hit with that baseball. I ain't trying to get hit with that baseball.
You know how hard it is to hit that ball. And this is a guy who batted 500 I think he batted 500 and stole 8 bases in a World Series. If the Braves win that World Series, he's the MVP of that World Series.
And again, to your point, when you start talking about football players, you start talking about basketball players, baseball players, track, all those kind of things. It's usually different individuals.
Yeah.
But when you start talking about Deion, and you start adding him into the athlete category, bro, if he runs track,
he might be in the Olympics.
Bro,
He in the Olympics. He in the Olympics.
You know, now where he falls, I ain't gonna take a guess there, but I'm not gonna say he can't be. He ain't gonna qualify for the Olympics.
He in the Olympics.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
So, which is if track is. If the epitome of track is the Olympics, he's going to get to the epitome.
He's going to get to the epitome of it.
You know, baseball.
He got to the epitome.
Yes.
He played in the World Series and was the MVP of the losing team. Bruh. And again, just
and
to
we already
mention-
know football.
And we already know football. And just to mention some more, I mean, you got guys like Darrell Reeves, Jalen Ramsey. You got those type of guys in the modern area who are great DBs as well. But I think it's harder to judge those guys because of how the game is shifted. And so you can't do a lot what y'all used to do back in the day.
Well, and I think they're at a disadvantage.
At a bit of a disadvantage.
And or
It's more
we have an
offense-centric.
advantage because you saw us
Yeah.
in bump and run. You
Yeah.
saw Cherry in Kansas City.
I forgot about him.
Yes, because there was two corners there. I can't remember the other dude's name. They were both Pro Bowls all 3 years I was there. Basically, the same guys came.
Yeah.
All because of bump and run. And I'm not saying you have to be fast at bump and run.
I think you do.
But
you got to have a skill set.
But you got to have a skill set that you can really.
Because that guy could, I mean, he might make the move, get his hands off you, and you got to catch up.
Yeah, if you got to catch up, you're in trouble. If you can't run.
That's what I'm saying. If you can't run, you can't really do that.
But some guys were good enough. A buddy of mine from Houston, Audrey McMillan, sent him a text earlier this morning, and he had 7 picks toward the end of the season. He ends up getting hurt. Bro, he was at best. You're gonna trip. At best, a 4.5. At best. And bro, he was up on the line all day long.
That's what's
across from me. And so he's getting some of that heat. Like he's getting a bunch of that. That's coming at him. And bro, he's making plays because he was smart. He could get his hands on you, and you talk about film, bro. He was all over the field.
All right, we got to switch to the other side.
Okay,
QBs. I'm gonna let you go.
I'm gonna throw it back at you. I'm gonna throw it back to you, but I'm gonna give you a challenge.
Okay.
So the game has changed about how frequently you throw the ball.
100%.
So yardage and completion percentages, you got to almost throw some of that stuff out.
Okay, and I'm glad you said that because I'm not really looking at none of that.
Right. So
I'm not necessarily judging. I'm not necessarily. I mean, that's a factor, but it's not the totality of what I'm going for.
And I think the disheartening piece of the statistics that they removed from the quarterback position, because some folks don't have it, is how many times did you run the ball? How many times did that quarterback run the ball? Like, what's the difference in Fran Tarkenton and a quarterback? Now, I can't say today, but Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Tarkenton's going to run the ball.
Yeah.
He's going to run that ball.
Yeah, but I
I think the running quarterback, which was a no-no back in the day.
Yeah.
But guys who had huge stats in running the ball as a quarterback, those stats meant nothing.
I think it's still it's hard to sort of justify those stats or pit them in a league where we could say they're the greatest, just because that type of quarterback hasn't really dominated and won a Super Bowl yet. You know what I'm saying? I think we've seen like the Steve Young, and I'll make the point now. As a modern quarterback, you have to be able to move, because running quarterback and a moving quarterback are two different things. And I'm saying, as a modern quarterback, you can't be a statue no more. That doesn't work in this league. You got to be able to move and get you 2 to 3 first downs a half.
But we're not. But we won't even include any of those guys who did run.
Yeah, I think we can't. We can't really. I think you can like them, but when you say the greatest of all time, none of those guys are really, except for maybe a Steve Young, can really fit into that category.
I'll say this: Michael Vick. Yeah. Michael Vick was well on his way.
He was on his way. Yeah.
But I think the timing of his play and what he was running was that they hindered him from that.
I don't think so.
Absolutely.
I think he messed himself up. I mean, to me, had he not gone, I think Petrino was coming in.
Randall Cunningham.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks like that, the black quarterback that could run.
Yeah.
Okay. It wasn't until like Steve Young really got in and started running, then maybe it was okay.
Yeah. I mean, I feel you on that.
You know what I'm saying? And these guys were, so when they couldn't throw the ball, they could run. And they were dangerous
Yeah,
when
but
they
it still
ran.
hasn't proven. You can't. The reason I can't even put those guys on the list as far as being the greatest because it just hasn't. They haven't been able to win Super Bowls with that style. I think Lamar Jackson can do it this year, but until that really happens, you can't really put him there. And so I think is with quarterback.
I'm just saying that I'm not saying that they are necessarily because I think if you, it's very difficult if you don't have a Super Bowl.
Yeah, you can't. You just can't
it's
put
very
him there.
difficult if you don't have it. But I think the fight that these guys had in order trying to be that guy, to be the dual guy, like Michael Vick, like stay in the pocket. Well, maybe we can win the Super Bowl if you can let me get out here.
Yeah.
Let me
again, I think he was on his way to do that before the dogfighting thing. But I'll say this. So, greatest quarterback, I think I'll start from the modern era, Patrick Mahomes. I think that he throws the ball in a way that is contrary to what a quarterback coach would teach a quarterback to throw the ball. I tell people he could throw it from noon to about 4 o'clock and be accurate on the run, throwing a crossbody. He makes throws that nobody in the history of this league, maybe except for like Aaron Rodgers type of that can make. And he can move and he can just make phenomenal throws accurately. I think obviously you have to put Tom Brady there. And then just
I was gonna
because
say you
got to put Tom Brady there.
You were gonna make people.
I'm
mad
just giving you my
if-
three. I'm giving you my three, and I'm saying three.
You got
for
to give me a
different reasons.
one.
I'm saying I think
You got to give me a one.
I'm
though.
saying one is Tom Brady. I think again, and it hurts me to say that because I'm a Joe Montana guy. I grew up a 49ers fan, and I don't think nobody had the I think the confidence, the decision making ability, and the throwing the ball accurately when they can knock your head off. When LT can literally knock your head off, and I think for Montana to be in the pocket, win 4 Super Bowls, be that great. And remember, he was great with the Chiefs too.
Yes,
he wasn't.
yes.
He wasn't
I
good.
played against them in the
He
Chiefs
almost
with the
got them to the
Chiefs.
to the Super Bowl with the Chiefs.
I got to
right?
pick on him with the Chiefs.
So he was a great quarterback all up until like the last days of his thing. But I think we got to say it's just Tom Brady because I think what happened is Tom Brady has proven that the Patriots was not about Bill Belichick. That was about Tom Brady. Bill Belichick is gone. He ain't been able to do. Bill Belichick has done nothing in his coaching career when he was the Browns and post Brady without Brady. That was about Brady.
I think Brady just says, I'm going to go Brady, even though I have.
We don't like to.
I have some other thoughts, but
Yeah.
I think Brady does deserve it.
Yeah, he does.
Because one. 6 picks, 7th round, 6 picks, something like that.
Yeah, he's like last man.
Yeah, so wasn't nobody interested
That's
in him.
a good point too.
Yeah, wasn't
That's a
nobody
good point.
interested in him, and all of a sudden he shows up. Mm-hmm. And so my hat's off to that because all you scouts missed it.
Yeah.
He's for sure your number one pick.
He was the last guy to beat Alabama in a big time bowl game or something like that?
I think so. Yeah,
something like that?
There's a stat like that.
Yeah.
So I have to automatically. There's no way you don't go.
There's no way you
don't go Brady.
Yeah.
But we need to take a break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back.
Contact Carl Lee on email. Let's talk carllee@gmail.com or text 409-422-7539.
You're listening to Let's Talk with Carl Lee. Sponsorship opportunities are available. Email letstalk@promessage.com or call 304-342-8131. For more information, visit WCHSnetwork.com/Let's Talk. Now, back to the conversation.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Carl Lee with Let's Talk. And Hollis Lewis just got some good information. Supposedly I guess Michigan is up over Alabama.
Yeah,
so
13-10.
13-10, so he's rooting for Michigan. I think he's tired of Alabama, I guess.
I'm tired of the SEC. I want to see somebody else.
All right, so we closed out the first half of the show with a couple different positions, and we ended up with quarterback and
I think we got a consensus. So
I think that's one that we kind of we can definitely agree on, because we both took Moss as the receiver.
That's hard. You know what? I'm copping out. I'm gonna go Tide, man. I gotta go Rice and Moss. To me, I just don't see how they both are. To me, on around Mount Rushmore.
I can't give you. I can't
And-
give you.
but hold on.
I can't give you 2 spots.
Damn, see, I'm a hometown guy too. See, I mean, but okay, if I had to go, I would go Rice. Just simply what he did in the Super Bowls. That's it.
Okay.
Just based off that.
Because and again, I'm looking at it an individual player and what what he brings to a team.
Can't argue that.
And the reality of being a DB, have to cover him.
Okay, we said DB, you said Green, I said Deion.
Yeah. Well, no, I did say Green, but I'm gonna give you Deion because again, when you start thinking about Deion and you start thinking about like what bad play did he have?
Yeah.
You know he had some, but you can't remember him.
Yeah.
And the part of that is because he has had that facade of who he is.
Prime time.
And so nobody thinks that he's ever been beat. Yeah. So if you don't think he's been beat, he ain't never been beat.
That's facts. And we said quarterback, we agreed on Brady.
Yeah.
So we're moving to running back.
Okay, so we're gonna move to running back.
And it's gonna be, I'm gonna hurt some feelings with this one.
Okay,
they're gonna be mad at me on this one.
I'm gonna probably shock some folks because they probably don't know the reality. But then mine is gonna be just straight up scouting report type of reason. So I'm gonna let you go first.
All right. So again, I'm a quarterback, and I'm looking at this position from a quarterback perspective because a quarterback and a running back, whether people realize it or not, that's really your right hand, even more than a receiver because he's running, he's blocking for you, he's making calls for you, he's maybe seeing some stuff that you don't see. To me, the greatest running back of all time, again, and this hurts to say it, but I would go with Marshall Faulk because he can literally do everything. You can run the ball in between the tackles. You could throw him a sweep. He can go on the outside. You can line him up a receiver. You could throw it out the backfield. Hell, he could play backup quarterback for you too. And he might be able to play DB if you really needed him. To me, looking at a Swiss Army knife, I like McCaffrey. I like guys like that Swiss Army knife type of running back. And to me, when you talk about that guy was Marshall Faulk.
Okay, and okay. So I'll say this, McCaffrey.
Although I love Barry Sanders, I had to shout him out.
Oh yeah.
I'm a Barry guy too.
So, and again, I'm going. I got to go older school.
Okay, that's fine.
I got to go older school because the game was different.
100%.
And it's a safer game now, which is good for everybody.
Yeah, it's good and bad sometimes.
Yeah, but. Like you're talking, like I've had an opportunity to see a whole host of Hall of Fame guys. Like
in the era when it was about the running back.
Yes, when it was about the running back. So you're dealing, when you're going into a game, you might get 15 passes. Mm-hmm. And they're going to have 60-some plays.
Yeah.
So the rest of those are going to be runs of some sort by somebody. Mm-hmm. Eric Dickerson. You got to look at him and bro, look, he got 3 guys pulling out in front of him. And bro, he all of us 6'3", 6'4", 220, 225 and running. And running. I mean, so I have to stay in that era because I don't know. Like the McCaffrey, that skill set, that toughness and all that's cool.
Yeah, Swiss Army knife.
Yes, it's cool. But bro, Walter Payton?
Yeah. See, this is a different this is a hard conversation.
Yes.
This is a hard conversation because when you talk about the beginnings of football up until, to me, the golden era running back, which was in them 80s, bruh, I mean, I can't argue none of those names.
Everybody had one.
To me, this argument is not about necessarily who's the greatest as opposed to who's your favorite and who fits in the style what you want to do. That's to me like with this when you talk about a running back.
But what's interesting to that point is, I look at it from the defensive point of view,
and that's
you know
how you're looking
at it.
As a
quarterback. It is about how you look at it.
Yeah, how you look at it. Yeah.
But I'm just gonna say this for anybody and everybody that's listening, who says, "Oh, that can't be the guy," okay? Imagine yourself standing out there by yourself. And Walter Payton's probably 5'9", if 5'10", and all of about 220, 215, and legs probably the width of my body.
Bruh.
And cares nothing about me.
Nothing.
Okay?
I don't even care about his own body.
Yes.
And the thing is, you got them all highlights, bro. Like, the highlights will tell you a lot.
Did I send you one day?
Yes, I watched the whole thing, man. And I've seen some of those before, and I'm like, this is what it was.
It popped up on Facebook, and I was like, oh, I got to send this to Hollis because I need him to see it. Because some of those dudes that he was running through, I'm that guy. You know what I'm saying? We had them twice every year.
Yeah.
Home and away. And man, like, and my second year in the league, I had convinced myself that I was a safety. So I moved back to safety. And we're playing Chicago. And bro, it dawned on me at the moment that I was standing back there at free safety that this day could turn out to be a true nightmare. Because I can imagine him popping up the middle.
Bruh. And now you got to make a decision.
Now I got to do something.
You got to make a decision.
But no, you ain't got to make a decision. He going to help you make that decision. The thing about Peyton, he was interested in the contact.
That's what I'm saying.
He wanted the contact. When he's on the sideline, he's got the ball on his outside arm, and he's got his left arm loaded, waiting on you to come over to like knock him out of bounds. Because typically you gonna come over, you get a big hit on him, you push him out of bounds, he goes all through the players and through the bench and all that. He ain't having that. Yeah. He ain't having.
And that's the thing. He initiated the contact.
Yes, he's wanting you to come.
Yeah. And that's the thing, and that's what makes, to me, when we talk about the GOAT conversation, the running back is the most difficult one to narrow down because just like you said, Peyton, I could say Marcus Allen.
Yes.
You could say Eric Dickerson.
Yes.
You could say
Pete Johnson.
Because everybody had a lot of great runs. You could say Earl Campbell. You could say you could say Barry Sanders.
Yes,
Barry
absolutely.
Sanders might be right up because again, to me, similar to Moss, Barry Sanders possessed a skill set that nobody else had. Nobody else had prior to that. Nobody else has since. No. And even you could go way back. You could talk about the Gale Sayers. You could talk about the Jim Browns. You can go way back there. And also you could even talk about modern, more like Derrick Henry and McCaffrey. You could talk about those guys and the skill sets that they have.
McCaffrey is a.
He's Marshall Faulk. He's Marshall Faulk.
Well, I'm going to say if you, because he don't mind running into you.
Yeah, he don't. But he's Marshall Faulk.
But he would be a Peyton Jr. You know what I'm saying? He ain't, because he ain't. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he doesn't have that true hurt you.
Yeah, definitely.
Attitude. He runs hard, which is good, and he knocks people over and all that kind of stuff. But he ain't quite a Peyton.
And you could say Marshawn Lynch. I think he would be more of a Peyton style running back where he's initiating. And I would even, because people like to discount Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith, although he had a great line, he had a great fullback, right? But to me, Emmitt Smith had Hall of Fame. His eyes and his visions on where to go was elite. You can't discount that.
What is interesting to me, too, to your point and validating part of what you're saying, is yes, he had a good line.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And had a fullback.
Great fullback.
But in most cases, you need some of that.
You have to have it.
Yeah.
Because again, if you're not Barry Sanders, you can't do that.
You can't. And there's very few Barry Sanders.
And I think to me, he just had elite vision. Because again, it's one thing to say, because we all watch film and running backs say, "Oh man, the line ain't blocking."
Yeah.
Then when you watch the film, like, bruh, did you not see that big old hole to the left? Did you not see that they cleared it out for you, but you went over there?
And if anybody has not seen the documentary on Barry Sanders, watch it. Watch it.
Yeah.
And that vision. That matter of fact, that vision and that personality of who he is, and the way how humble he was in the game, his intention to be humble in the game is amazing. Yeah. Because if that player's playing today, he's dancing in the end zone. He's choreographing a whole offensive dance in the goal line. Yeah. He ain't want none of that.
So I'm saying for running back. So I think this is a personal choice. And again, I would Barry Sanders up there, but I'm just saying if I'm having an offense, if I'm drafting, I want Marshall Faulk. So who you got? You got Peyton?
I got Peyton.
Okay,
I got Peyton.
Well, let's move to the defense.
Because he can do everything. Okay,
we go linebackers. You want to go?
I was going to say we'll go safeties.
We'll go. Okay, go safeties.
Okay. And it's easy to me. Uh-huh. It's easy to me. If you cut your finger off the play,
I knew you was going there. You was going to your area.
If you cut your finger off the play, you are like, I'm looking at you like something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like thinking to myself, like, I don't even want to be your friend.
Yeah.
Ronnie Lott, ladies and gentlemen, this dude, he's probably 95% of the reason that the whole tackling thing needed to change. Because he's knocking you out.
Yeah, him, the hammer.
Not only is he knocking you out, he likely is willing to go out to save the first down or the touchdown.
Yeah.
Safeties like that back in the day were, I mean, because we had one, Joey Browner, and like, man, I was scared of Joey Browner. He was on my defense, and I was scared of him. Because I'm like, dude, like, what? What are you doing? You know, he get a 15, and like, you know, you say, Joey, what were you thinking? What? I ain't do nothing. Okay. You know, you ain't gonna argue with him. I ain't saying, yeah, you did. You know, I ain't taking that chance.
Okay, so I again, it's hard to argue that. I was a 49er fan growing up, but I just think in a modern setting, I think a guy who could do both of those things, Ed Reed. I think he's a specialist. He's a ball hawk. I think he could play the game in a modern style, and I think he could play it in an old school style. I'm not sure those old school cats could play it in a modern style.
And you're saying that why?
Because I just think their intention, their intention was to knock your head off. Their intention, I think, again.
So you're saying the game won't let them?
The game won't let them.
Okay, that ain't their fault.
But and again, I'll say this: maybe a Ronnie Lott, I don't know if he could play free. Maybe he could play a strong safety. I think now in a modern sense, he probably. I don't know if he would be a free safety like a Troy Polamalu. He would be up there with me too, but as a strong safety. But I think as a free safety, I don't know you could play the game how it is today.
I see where you're trying to go with your decision making, but. Because none of the guys could play. And I'll say it this way: none of us could play in today's game with the rules that are there now.
I think athletically y'all could. You would have to be a big adjustment.
But the physicality of it.
The physicality of the game is not.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just crazy.
It's some of it has changed for the safety of players, and so I'm all in for that.
Yeah.
But when you start judging, when I start thinking about trying to judge. Who's that safety? When I'm judging that, I'm thinking about the physicality of that safety.
Yeah.
If you say, oh, he could play that, he could play that. No. That free safety or that strong safety, they are that guy.
They are that guy. That's what I'm saying. I'm just not sure they could.
It's not that they can't move. It's not that they can't run. It's just that their intention is to do something else. Is they're looking for the physicality of the game.
Because I mean, you like if you ever go back on YouTube, watch those safeties play. It would be situations in which they had the pick clearly lined up. They could just step in front of the guy, but they would rather clean you up.
When I was at State as a coach. On the defensive side, and this is before football it was right when football was getting ready to make this change, right?
Yeah.
My philosophy was, I'll take the first 15. So if a guy's running across the middle, I'll take that 15. You better take him out. If we won't get to 15, you need to take him out. I mean, that's the game. That's the game.
Hey, people, he's talking about prior.
Old school.
Yeah.
I'm talking old school.
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, hey, the intent in old school football.
Yeah. It's intimidation.
It's straight up intimidation. Yeah. The very first thing you want to do is the first time I'm going to jam somebody, bro, I'm trying to get all up in your face.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe I'll get in your face mask, and maybe they'll call it, or maybe they don't. Mm-hmm. But you're going to remember, you're going to be thinking every time, is he going to come aggressive or is he going to sit back a little bit? What's he going to do? That was the mindset.
Yeah.
And if you could, and I'll just use this word. If you could punk the guy across from you, you do that.
You do that. So you got I got Ed Reed, you got Locke.
I got Ronnie Lott.
Okay, so tight end. Again, this is another. It's similar to the safety in that the position has changed. So tight end might be a little tight too. Like who you got?
And see, I could be really because there's a lot of great tight ends, and I may not even remember all their names, but Steve Jordan played for us.
Yeah, I remember.
And he was the swing of the receiver tight end guy.
And see, that's what's changed.
Yeah, he was the trigger guy who all of a sudden was, that tight end is a receiver, and he can run the same routes that the wide receivers can run.
Yeah.
So I think he was the epitome of the change in tight ends. He was 6'5", 6'4", 6'5", about 230, cut up, ripped up, and all that. But he could block, but he wasn't pulling. You know what I'm saying? Like he wasn't going to destroy nobody. But now you got that tough, hard-nosed, strong safety that has to cover him.
Yeah.
Which is now too slow.
Yeah, you can't do it. I would go. I mean, I like Travis Kelce. I think he's killing it.
I think he's killing it too.
But again, it's a different. He's playing a game different than Tony Gonzalez and Shannon Sharp played the game.
And
you know what I mean?
And again,
it's just my taste. I want Shannon Sharp.
And again, I can go there too. I can go there too because he was. The thing with Shannon is Shannon was big enough.
Yeah.
To knock you out and athletic enough to go run any route.
See, that's what I'm saying. I think he had the perfect mix because he could block.
I'll give you that.
He could block and he could go get it like a receiver.
And Steve could do the same, but Steve wasn't that big.
And I think Kelce could do the same. But I just don't.
Yeah.
He's just not tasked to do that though. He's almost playing like a slot receiver now.
Yeah, and he's kind of out of the physicality mix and taking the matchup.
Yeah.
Like they like the matchup with him outside.
Yeah.
They like that because now you either got a strong safety or a backer that's out there.
And Tony Gonzalez too. To me, he was the same mold as Shannon Sharp.
Yeah.
He could do the blocking and he could take.
Most of those tight ends back then really were pretty good and pretty versatile.
And then you got to go even like because the tight ends to me the tight end position is moved. It's been the most evolutionary position because obviously back in the day it was just like it was an extra tackle out there.
Yeah.
Then you go from the extra tackle to you go out and get some passes, the receiving. Then you go to the receiving type, and I would say you go to the H-back type like a Dallas Clark. Well, because now they transfer from like a tight end fullback type of thing, and then you go to the Kelce where you're almost like a receiver. So it's been a lot of moves in that position.
Well, yeah, that H-back, tight end, H-back kind of guy who's moving and blocking and catching.
And running the ball.
Yeah, and running the ball.
It's like a Dallas Clark.
Yeah, you're drafting that particular guy for that particular thing. You're looking for a guy that can fit that mold. Mm-hmm. Usually that tight end was usually an athletic lineman that can help you block.
Yeah.
And you might set him off the ball in an H position, motion him, let him block, because he could do that. And throw a little pass to him in the flat. But these dudes now going down the field.
They're going down the field. So that's what I'm saying. So when you look at
Shannon's probably by far
see, and that's what I'm saying.
And the best of all
and
of
I
them.
think he could do it probably all day. So if you ask him to play H-back, I think he could do that. If you ask him to line up receivers, he could do that. If you ask him to play tight and block, I think he could do that.
But I can't even
and
imagine
he's a matchup nightmare.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't even imagine him in a slot.
My God.
And just standing up.
He's a matchup nightmare because he's just as fast.
And the bad thing about it is, the bad thing about it is he knows how big and strong he is.
Yeah. He's a matchup nightmare.
And if I'm standing out there in the slot trying to cover him, he's sitting there thinking, oh, this is gravy.
Yeah.
Because, one, I'm going to push him down. Two, I'm just going to go get the ball.
Yeah.
There's no way you win at the ball with him.
Yeah. All right, the linebacker. Or we can go D-line. Which one you want to go, linebacker, D-line?
Let's go linebacker.
All right.
I'm going, and I'm wondering where you go in this one, but I've got LT.
Okay, that I knew you was going there. So I have a question though.
Okay.
So is LT a linebacker or really was he a rush in?
Both.
But was he covering? Because when I think of LT, I'm thinking of basically a linebacker who's rushing. So I'm thinking of him almost like a DN.
But the difference is the way that the nickel and dime packages that save the linebackers from being in that coverage.
Yeah.
Right? There's a difference. Like you go to Buffalo, Darryl Talley, okay? They were running a 3-4. So he's a stand-up outside linebacker.
Yeah.
Super athletic, 6'4", 230, 235, somewhere in that range around Lawrence Taylor. And but he was athletic. Yeah. And so I think the reason why I don't see him as a lineman or a rush in is because he was athletic. Yeah. He was more athletic than he ever had to show.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not questioning his athletic ability. Trust me, I ain't doing that. I'm just saying it's the manner in which they used him. To me, they used him more as a rush in as opposed to a traditional line. Because when I think of linebacker, I think of like Urlacher. I think of and my pick would be Ray Lewis. Because I think to me,
I could see that
he comes to those gaps. He can cover. He's athletic enough where he can cover that tight end, but he can also cover getting that gap and hit that running back.
But see,
and blitz the quarterback.
But see, a lot of that's not gonna. They're not gonna be asked to do that.
And that's what I'm saying. Yeah, because he's an outside backer, so maybe probably the appropriate thing to do would just differentiate. But I don't know if I just look at him more as a rush in, like.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I see, and again, some of like the way I make a difference in some of these people, because all of them fit. Everybody can fit.
Yeah, for sure.
As great as Talley wasn't Lawrence Taylor.
Definitely not. Nobody was.
Yeah, because, bro, I don't want to call him dirty, but again, the word you used early, intimidation.
Intimidation. He's like a lot. He's coming forward.
When you play against guys like that, you've already looked at 2-3 game films, and you've seen him knock people out.
I mean, that as a quarterback, that video or the shot of him with Joe Theismann, dude, that's crazy to me. Like, bro,
yeah, you up next
week, bro. Come on,
you talking to the
where he at? Where, 56, red 19, 56, running back, go that way.
Yeah,
get in front of him or something.
And how many times do you think that's happened? Yeah. And that running back's got knocked out.
But the thing is too, even if none of that happens, even if you secure him, you spend so much. It's like Moss. You spend so much time trying to deal with him.
Yes, you spend the whole time game planning around that position. His position. You got a game plan.
Then everything else is messed up.
Yes. Yeah, you ain't got time.
So
to worry about anything else.
I can't because I would pick. When we covered rush ends or D linemen, or D ends, that's kind of where I would pit him. But I understand. I can't argue it either. I like Ray. It's just when I think of like a middle backer.
Yeah. Well, if you start talking about inside backer.
Yeah.
Because
the LT is definitely outside backer.
Yeah, he's an outside backer. If you start talking
he's
about
the greatest
inside,
at that.
Yes,
for sure.
If you say inside backer, bro, I'm looking. I can still see those eyes of Mike Singletary. I can, bro, like.
But I don't know if he could cover like Ray.
No, maybe not. But again, he wasn't asked to.
He wasn't asked to.
So his thing was, it was the run and the quarterback. It was and to lead that defense.
And he had that nasty middle bar too.
And bro, like when you go look online about how he stared at the quarterback or how he stared toward the offense, and imagine yourself waiting on him to come across the line of scrimmage to get to you, because he's going to get there.
Okay, so I think we both agree LT is the outside backer for sure.
Yeah.
And then you got Mike, and I got Mike Singletary, and I got Ray Lewis in the middle.
Okay.
Or D lineman.
Interior.
We go interior. Reggie White.
Reggie White.
That's easy.
Yeah.
Okay. Outside. D line. D end.
D end.
See, I got Derek Thomas. I like Derek Thomas.
I like Derek Thomas.
I like Charles Haley.
Haley was good.
Trying to think of some modern guys, because Bruce Smith was he
Bruce? Yeah, he was outside.
Yeah,
you're gonna probably push me into Bruce Smith, probably.
Bruce Smith?
Yeah. Because that Buffalo team was really special. Yeah. I'll go there.
Okay. I mean, I can't argue that.
Yeah.
I can't argue that.
And again, we're just throwing out these names just quick, not no stats, no nothing, just name. And the interesting thing that if you haven't picked up, mine go a decade before his, and and Hollis's comes after mine.
Okay, and somebody,
because it's when you know.
And somebody asked me because I made the post. They was like, "What about special teams?" And let me, before you go, my argument is that special teams, it can really go a lot of different ways. So obviously, we could talk about kickers, we could talk about returners. But when I think of special teams, in addition to, because I would say if we're talking about a specialist returner, Devin Hester, Dion, that's the list,
yes,
right? But because I think these guys ought to be in the Hall of Fame. I think these guys, if you are that good, if you are Steve Tasker,
yes,
to me,
yes. Yes.
You've mastered your position.
Yes.
You do everything that they ask you to do. So I would say like a Steve Tasker. I would say like a Taysom Hill currently for New Orleans. And obviously we talking about kicker. You talking about my man from the Patriots. Is it Vanderjack? It's not Vanderjack. You know what I'm talking. Y'all know what I'm talking about though.
Well, and
kicker for the Patriots, kicker for the Baltimore Ravens right now.
We had, and I am not going to remember his name.
And Ray Guy, punter.
Ray Guy, for sure,
yeah.
As a punter, for sure. But let me on the special team piece of it, and to your point, and this will sound crazy, the kick returner, the kicker, the snapper, that's the easy piece.
I don't know about easy.
Well, it's not to disrespect it.
Yeah.
But if you are running down, if you an R2, R3, R1 in on that kickoff, that's so the ball's sitting in the middle of the field. If you're the first, second, or third guy away from the ball,
yeah,
and you're on the kickoff team. Brother, that is no joke. I learned that experience. I learned that experience in the pros.
Yeah.
Because I was always a safety. I'm the guy, drop your hands and hope nobody break it. And if they break it, I try to make the tackle, try to save the tackle as a quote of safety. Brother, when I got to Minnesota and they start throwing me on those special teams.
You R3.
Man, I was an R2.
And so and that's when you had the wedge.
Hollis, yes. And the crackback block.
Yeah, and they need to outlaw all that.
That was still good.
Yeah,
that was welcomed.
That was welcomed.
Expected.
And that's crazy.
I get in. A friend of mine, a buddy, he was ahead of me. I was his backup. Keith Nord, he tore his Achilles.
Mm-hmm.
Bud Grant puts me in. I'm an R2 on kickoff. I'm a gunner on the punt team. Okay? All right? So those are the, quote, defensive sides of the ball on special teams, right? So, bro, I don't know. Bro, I have not ever been on a kickoff team to run down.
Yeah.
But what do I know? Run all out, right?
Run all out.
All out. I'm running all out.
And you don't run all out.
I'm giving it all. Bro, I'm trying to be the first one down.
Your head ain't on the swivel at all.
No, I ain't looking for nobody.
Bro, you tripping.
I ain't looking for nobody. Ain't nobody telling me to look for nobody.
You tripping.
They tell me to get to the ball.
You tripping, bro.
So, bro, first 2-3 games,
yeah,
bro, I'm getting down, punt cover. I'm going down. I'm making tackles. I'm high-fiving everybody. Well, bro, film work, film study. Bro, they start seeing that.
Yeah.
So now, I'm next game up. So I'm thinking, whoever going to block me.
You ain't anticipating that part.
Bro, I ain't listening to none of that. Whoever's supposed to block me, I'm outrunning that.
Yeah,
okay?
Yeah.
Man, I don't see the guy who hit me. I don't even know. And it took me literally almost the whole game before I could even figure it out.
My God.
Now, so I go from not playing at all to special teams and doing well.
You doing your thing.
To all of a sudden we in films And Bud Grant used to do the special teams film. Bro, he got me on film. Bro, I'm flying down. First one down. Bro, I'm the first one out the screen. Bro, I get blindsided.
First one down, first one out the screen.
First one out the screen. And, bro, he runs it back like 4 or 5 times.
You just got blown.
Bro, I'm like, bro, I'm hot. Bro, my knees in my chest. Bro, I'm like running 100, right? And I'm like thinking I'm the first guy there. I'm making the play. And, bro, I don't, to this day, to this day, I don't know how or where that dude came from to hit me. But, bro, he hit me, and, bro, I literally must have went past or 3 or 4.
You just have to picture. But, hey, but in serious note, I tell kids this. If you're, like, for example, when I go to talk to high school kids or whatever, high school teams, if you're not playing on offense or defense, you need to get on that special. It's the quickest way to get on the field.
Yes.
And it's the quickest way, because I think of like Shannon Sharp and Terrell Davis. They actually made those teams maybe similar to you.
Yes.
They made the team from special teams.
Yes.
And then they were able to do their thing on the offensive defensive side. Right?
I'm getting cut. The expectation was I was going to get cut that next week. Okay? And the guy who gets hurt, he gets hurt, so I get in. Because it was what they used to call move week.
Yeah.
The third week, going into the fourth week, so you have to get whatever changes that you're gonna make off of IR, whatever, you gotta make those changes right then. So I thought I had made the squad. I didn't know nothing about this move week. Well, all of a sudden, Keith Nord tears his Achilles, I get in. And like I said, those first few games, bro, I'm balling. I'm balling. I'm like, see, y'all should have been playing me out there all the whole time. I need to be the guy. Why am I not on defense? And then, brother, week 4, bro, week 5, bro, I was flying out of the screen. And from there, I learned
to start looking.
And I was a gunner on the punt team. So I'm the guy who they got 2 guys out there blocking, and I got to beat him and make the play. Bro, I did that literally my entire career at Minnesota. Starting Pro Bowl, all that kind of stuff. I was still a kickoff guy and a punt cover guy.
Man, that's the part they don't talk about.
No.
See,
and you can't ask to get off. How you gonna ask to get off? Now, like today, you might be able to do that, or because the money, they ain't gonna risk that money. Right. They weren't worried about no money back then.
Yeah, so I would say to your point, outside of a kicker or a returner, obviously I would have Devin Hester. But outside of those 2 positions, we talking about a straight-up special teams guy. For me, it would be Steve Tasker.
Yeah. Anybody that's in that kind of mindset. Well, let me ask you this. There's a defensive side and then there's an offensive side. Yeah. Usually the offensive side, you don't consider the blocking or any of that. You're thinking about running the kickoff back, the punt back, or kicking the field goal or whatever. But in all reality, we're really talking, are we talking more so about a returner, or do you want to try to
to me, if we take the returners out of it, because I could say my returner would be Devin Hester.
It would have to be Deion.
One of those 2 guys. But if I'm saying, like to your point, a straight-up special teams guy, because Steve Tasker did all
that.
So he did the return, he did the punt coverage, kickoff coverage. He did it all, offensive, defense, when it comes to special teams. So I would say, for me, he would have to be the greatest in that respect.
He may be the first time that people really started talking about special teams guys.
That's what I'm saying.
Because you'd say who'd make the tackle back in the day, but they didn't ever really make. I don't remember anybody being made
to a special teams guy.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
I don't think that.
I think we've always talked about the returners, and Deion and everybody like that made it a little bit more in the spotlight. And D'Angelo Hall and different guys of that nature. But when you talk about a special teams guy, like a specialist that just does a little everything, I think you're talking about Steve Tasker, Tatum Hills, those type of guys.
Okay. So what do we got now? I
think that's it. I mean, we done.
We talked about D-line and we talked about Reggie White. I want to throw again a kind of a biased one. And again, because of the path of this particular player who was undrafted, is now a Hall of Famer. John Randall,
yeah. He was a beast.
He started out as a beast in practice. And the old linemen, dudes like Gary Zimmerman, Hall of Fame guy, Randall McDaniel, Hall of Fame guy, hated him. Because like he would not take it easy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he was going to go hard all day. The whole paint face stuff, that was in practice. Yeah. Man, that was like he did it in practice.
Oh, for real?
Yes, like it wasn't a game show. This was who he was. He would laugh and joke and do all that kind of stuff. I don't know if I've ever – he was the first guy that I think that I seen who came into the game, dominated the game with fun.
I remember that too.
You know, because a lot of guys had that chip. Like Chris Dolman, God rest his soul. Doe was a great, Hall of Fame guy. DN was great. He was in that Reggie White he'd be in that conversation. But he was aggressive with it. Johnny Randall was fun.
Yeah, I think Warren Sapp would sort of fit into that mode a little bit too. I think we definitely got to mention Warren Sapp because he kind of played the game with that vivacious joy and that sort of thing as well.
Yeah, but I'll say this: I don't think there's anybody remotely close to a John Randall. I just don't. From the inside guys, from that nose tackle to gap guys, A-gap guys. I don't think there's anybody better than Johnny
it's an
Randall.
argument because I think for in his prime, Warren Sapp would dominate the game from that middle spot, even surrounded by all them great, the Brooks and all them and the Tink and the Barbers and all them guys that they had in that on that defensive side of the ball at Tampa Bay. So it's an argument.
Well, best coach.
See, that's hard. I mean.
Yeah, it is. It is.
To me.
See, because I know some old. I can go back to some old ones.
And I think with coach, you got to win Super Bowls.
Yes,
you cannot not. But I look at guys like Jimmy Johnson. I think that because people what they don't remember.
Give me the type. So not necessarily even your Hall of Fame guy, but who's the guy who just from your view, your remembrance. What it looked like, how it felt.
I'll say this.
Who was the guy you say, like, oh, I'd like to be coached by him?
Bill Walsh, because I think he was a scientist and a teacher when it came to football. I don't think he was just this football guy, this gruff, particularly in y'all's era, in that area. He just wasn't like the screaming, spit coming out of his mouth type coach. I think he was a teacher and a scientist when it came to football. I think Andy Reid is modern. He's in that mode. I think what he done with Philly and what he does with Kansas City. Right, I think Jimmy Johnson, same mode. I think that him being able to pick that team, go from 1-15 to 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah,
it's hard to argue that.
Yeah, but again, it's in the stat. That's kind of in the stat category as much as style.
Yeah.
See, I'm interested in the style piece of it because one of the things that I admired about Bud Grant was his expectations of you and your accountability for getting there.
Yeah.
And so, like, his thing was like he's not yelling and screaming and doing all this stuff at you, right? Like man, I'm dead serious. Like, he had a deer feeder that's over in the weeds, and we had like a practice field, grass field, a 50-yard grass field, and then this 60-yard dome that was underneath the dome. But he would go into the, like, right at the edge of the woods, and he'd be feeding the deer or checking to see if there's food in the deer feeder for the deer. We're practicing. Then after practice, he would come and say we had a horrible practice, But everybody knew his expectation. So when game day showed up and you don't play, there was no – the deal was if you don't play, if you're not playing well, You ain't gonna be on the team.
But who's
And
your
the
greatest? But obviously that's from your personal experience.
My personal experience is Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll.
And he was my head coach. He was my position coach.
Well, I'm just saying greatest head coach.
Oh, greatest head coach.
I could pit him up there too. I would pit Pete Carroll up there as well.
Yeah. See, he was a DB coach when I was there.
Yeah. I like Dick Vermeil. I thought he coached with just emotion. I like that. So I mean, it's a lot of good ones.
I'm gonna stay with Bud Grant.
You can't.
I can.
You know, win a Super Bowl. You got as a
He went
head
to
coach.
4.
He went to 4.
He went to 4.
Okay, you can have it.
All right.
Who you go with? Buffalo?
No,
Who you go
with Minnesota.
Went to 4 Super Bowls?
Yes.
Okay.
But
Okay.
you know, and which is his. But I want to say he had coached. He actually played too. But he had coached. He coached basketball, I think. Like he was a notable coach of all trades. Like he.
So he was a coach's coach.
Yes, like he was a coach's coach, and he understood. Again, he taught your responsibility. Like you are responsible for you. I am the consequence to that, right? You know, like if you don't do it, you already know why you're here. You're here to do this. If you don't do it, I don't see you doing it, then you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I don't need to yell at you. I don't need to do anything but to call you in and say you didn't do what you were supposed to do.
But yeah.
You don't like that.
I'm saying it's your pick. I mean, you like I'm just thinking when we say the pantheon of like when you look at like a Mount Rushmore of coaching. I'm saying most people are not going to have him.
I think it's different. I think like when I pick Pete Carroll, I pick it because what he did for me.
But I'm saying,
you know what I'm saying?
I'm saying take your personal stuff out of it. Saying, yeah, I never played with none of these guys. I'm saying as an objective viewer of just what they've done and been able to accomplish with their teams over the span of a long period, innovation.
I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back all the way back to the Dolphins and say Don Shula.
I can't argue with that. I mean, the length in which he did it alone is just kind of amazing. Going undefeated, kind of amazing.
That's an amazing feat.
Yeah. Like I said, I like Bill Walsh because I just think the innovation.
Yeah, Bill Walsh.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The West Coast offense, the innovation of that. I like Andy Reid in a modern sense.
Now, Jerry Burns, who was a head coach at Minnesota, after Bud left the second time, he was I want to say he was the creator of the basic part of the West Coast offense.
Okay.
You know, and everybody else picked it up, took it, and did what they decided what they wanted to do with it. But he was the actual one, and everybody called him Burnsy, but Burnsy gets the credit for the actual West Coast offense and the back, throwing the balls to the backs and that kind of stuff.
Because I think when we look at, I think people really don't make the connection. Basically, when we're looking at modern offenses now, only thing that's really different is that you're just in a shotgun. You know what I'm saying? And they've taken the running back and just put him as a slot now. And
the names of what they call it and all that kind of stuff, those things have changed. But there's not. If you really play football, you know that every time you see, you can call it formation from what we had at State. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Whatever we called it. So none of that stuff is really new. Those motions, some of the motions we would have never done. We would have never motioned back behind the tailback and that kind of stuff. Yeah. But any of those other kind of motions, it's YMO, ZMO.
Yo-yo.
That's all. I mean, it's just difference in names, and it's not. We look at it as creative, and I guess I don't want to take away from the creativity of it, but it's still in the same vein as what we all knew.
I think a lot of times what's different that I've seen now, obviously other than just the talent of the players and the things that they're allotted to do, I think it's the release points kind of where you're coming from, because a lot of times our motion would be inside going out.
Yeah.
A lot of times these are outside coming in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The crossing route, they'll go out, come out. So it's just like kind of how it's being set up, and maybe where they're starting from is a little different. I think that's where the creativity maybe comes into play.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed our discussion. I enjoyed it, and I think I probably won it. Hollis won't give that to me, but I probably won that discussion.
I don't know, my team pretty tight.
Yeah, you're all right. You're all right.
I want the Dallas Cowboys defenses.
Oh,
excuse me, offensive lines. Sorry about that. Their offensive lines when they won the 3-peat. Give me those offensive lines.
Okay. Well, I would say this. I would take the Minnesota Vikings defensive line.
No, we're not saying with the offense. We already picked our defensive line. I'm saying the offensive lines.
You're going to take who?
The Dallas Cowboys when they in 93, 94, when they were running 3-peat, their offensive line.
I'm gonna and again, I'm being as partial as possible. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna take the Minnesota Vikings with Chuck Foreman.
Offensive line.
Okay. With Chuck Foreman.
All
right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Carl Lee, and this is Let's Talk. And if you're looking for us, go to Carl Lee Let's Talk.
Yeah.
And join us there, as befriend us there, and you can get all of our videos from there as well. All right. Enjoy. Talk to you again.
The opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of WVRC Media, its management, employees, or sponsors. Contact Carl Lee on email, letstalkcarllee@gmail.com, or text 409-422-7539.